Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we're doing a mailbox episode. There's so much going on in the gaming world, so many questions, so many ideas. I figured it would be nice to have you guys ask me some questions and I give you the best answers I can in a video format. I asked you guys for some questions on Facebook, got a lot of really good ones submitted, so I'll be getting into those in just a second. This footage comes from Mashdate. If you don't know who Mashdate is, he runs a really good and popular German Battlefield YouTube channel. I've known him for a long time. He's a nice guy and was super cool about letting me use his footage to make YouTube videos. So thank you, Mashdate. If you want to check out his channel, it's linked in the video description. The first question asked is from Andreas, who says, do you think Battle Royale for Battlefield 5 is a good thing for the game? This has definitely been one of the more hotly debated topics lately. The thing I like to remind people of is that with previous Battlefield games, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, like every Battlefield game with the DLC, they've pretty much come out with new game modes. Most of these game modes sucked. Capture the Flag for Battlefield 3 wasn't particularly good. There's a lot of other little game modes that weren't very good. Frontlines for Battlefield 1 was actually pretty decent, so a lot of them have just been hit or miss. You know, you never know what you're going to get. It sounds like with Battlefield 5, Royale will probably be one of the game modes for one of their upcoming DLCs. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't be. I think people are concerned that it's going to draw people away from the core modes in Battlefield, and I really don't think that's going to happen at all, because I stopped playing the Battle Royale games like PUBG and Fortnite and stuff because I just got kind of tired of the format. It was a good streaming format, but for me personally, I really enjoyed Conquest a lot more, and I came back to it. I feel like if they implemented Battle Royale to Battlefield, it would be a fun distractor that might take up maybe 30% of my time playing the game, but the rest of it would probably be spent playing Conquest or maybe the new Operations if it's any good. There's also gamers that would be purely interested in Battlefield for the Battle Royale mode alone. Those gamers probably wouldn't be from the core Battlefield player base, so I imagine a significant portion of the population coming over to play the Royale mode would be from players who just aren't big fans of the current Battlefield game or don't spend a huge amount of time playing the current Battlefield game. There's also the idea that people could come over to play the Royale mode but might try out Conquest or the other game modes and say, you know what, I came for Battle Royale but really ended up staying for the other game modes. So I think regardless of how popular Battle Royale is for Battlefield 5, the only consequences will be good for the franchise. If it's not popular, then it doesn't matter and the core gameplay and the core player base isn't really affected at all. If it is popular and it takes off, the core player base will be just fine playing Conquest, and they'll probably get a population boost overall. I really don't think the two game modes are going to be directly competing with each other, and if it does make the game a lot more popular, that'll be because it's drawing in new players and not because it's taking players away from Conquest. Obviously, I could be wrong, but one of the things that really appeals to me about the current gameplay in Battlefield is that it's consistent, constant action. I can get lots of heavy action when I want it, but when you're playing Battle Royale, you might be running around for 5 to 10 minutes without seeing anything. And that can be fun, it can make for a good adventure, but ultimately it's not what I think of when I think Battlefield, and that's probably not going to sustain me for the long term, or it'll be something that I might be in the mood for every now and then, but not my staple game mode. The next question comes from Graham, who says, do you think with Battlefield 5 the fortifications are pandering to the Rainbow Six players a bit too much? To be honest, I never even thought about Rainbow Six once when I saw the fortifications. I think most people were making the Fortnite jokes at that point, like saying Battlefield Fortnite, you now get to build forts and houses and that kind of thing. I'm actually surprised that it's taken DICE this long to add some sort of building mechanic into the game. They had dynamic destruction since the Bad Company games, and it's just weird to me that they haven't looked on the other side of that. Well, we have dynamic destruction, why don't we have dynamic construction? They've been making a really heavy push lately to try and increase the strategic element to the game, and so construction seems like a maybe, I would say, obvious step or maybe a naive step in that direction. And it is certainly possible that this is going to get integrated to the Incursions competitive mode and try and make a play at that Rainbow Six market. But I think really the only avenue Battlefield has left to try and differentiate themselves from the other strategic shooters at this point is the vehicle incorporation. And personally, I'm just not interested in the vehicle incorporation for a competitive game mode. And so I think the doors have unfortunately closed for Battlefield. I think right around Bad Company and Battlefield 3 was the ideal time to try and build up their esports market. But now that Rainbow Six is here and has the dynamic destruction tactical shooter market basically tied up, wrapped up, they've got it. It's going to be hard for anyone to take them on. So it is entirely possible that DICE is sort of making a play with incursions, with using the building and stuff, but I really just think that they're trying to use it as a way to increase the tactical options in their standard game modes right now, and we'll see if it actually does. The next question comes from Robert, who says, why have you not launched your own range of gaming products? I think part of that is due to the fact that I'm in my mid-30s now and I don't necessarily wear a lot of gaming-related apparel anymore. It doesn't appeal to me quite as much, and I generally pursue things that I'm personally very interested in. So whether it's like gaming sweatshirts or hats or something like that, I think there's plenty of cool stuff out there, and I do appreciate people wanting to support me with the idea of purchasing apparel and that kind of stuff. It's not something that I'll ever write off entirely, but I think if I was going to design something, it'd have to look cool, and it would also have to be something that could pass as non-gaming gear. Like somebody in the know could recognize it as gaming apparel, but if they didn't know, it would just look like a cool shirt with a cool design on it or something like that. And so I'd basically just have to find the right design and the right company to work with. But been so darn busy, it hasn't exactly been on the top of my priorities list. The next question comes from Daniel, who says, will you ever return to Airsoft? We need somebody with the ability and production value to compete with Novridge. I currently don't have any plans to return to playing Airsoft or making Airsoft content on my channel. I really did enjoy the Airsoft content that came out on my channel. I thought it was some excellent content, still some of my best content. The problem with it is that from a business standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you're seeing a decline in the amount of Airsoft YouTubers or a decline in the production value or the amount of people doing high quality Airsoft content, a lot of that's not because there aren't people out there that would like to make it. It's that doing so requires a huge amount of time, a lot of resources, usually money as well, and it just doesn't pay for itself, and it's not worth the time or effort involved. Airsoft is one of those things that can be really entertaining to watch, a well-edited video, but in terms of the population player base that's going out to play, paying for money, and growing the Airsoft industry and interest in it, it's just not enough to make Airsoft, high-quality Airsoft production videos viable. And it's unfortunate, but if it was viable, you can imagine that there'd be 50, 100 different Airsoft YouTubers out there. There's plenty of people talented with high quality editing skills that could do exactly what I did, but it just isn't economical, and so that's why you're not seeing a lot of people. And it's part of the reason why I'm probably not going to go back, but the other part is just the massive amount of work involved with it and wanting to spend that time with my family and doing other things. So at the moment, no plans, man. So sorry, dude. The next question comes from Benjamin, who asks, if DICE would come up with an overhauled engine for Battlefield 4 while keeping the mechanics identical and adding a continued storyline and new multiplayer maps, would you think it could seriously endanger Battlefield 5? Benjamin, I kind of get what you're saying here, and I think what you're really trying to ask is basically, do you think a modern military shooter similar to Battlefield 4 would have been a more successful title than Battlefield 5? Obviously, DICE will never come out with two Battlefield games side by side, one modern, one historical. That would just deplete the sales of both titles. But it is a legitimate question to wonder, why the heck aren't they doing a modern military title right now? If you look at the franchise, ever since basically Bad Company came out in 2008, all the games have been modern military. So essentially with about 8 years of modern military games with no break in that tradition, unless you count Hardline or maybe if you count Battlefield Heroes, all the games have been modern military, and all of a sudden they go historical for Battlefield 1, and people go, okay, well, we're trying this out for a game, but if it doesn't work out, or if some of the fan base isn't into it, we're going back to modern, right? Well, they didn't. They went back to historical again, 2 times in a row. So this will be, what, approximately 4 years of historical Battlefield games after 8 years of modern military Battlefield games. There's definitely a huge contingent of the player base that's sort of like, hey man, I fell in love with the modern military setting. and all of a sudden you're just neglecting exactly what I wanted. I think this is a very weird thing that DICE has done, doing 2 historical shooters in a row. I think it's a mistake personally. I think they're going to lose a huge portion of their modern military audience to other games that are going to absolutely capitalize on it. But as developers, I guess they have to do what interests them the most. And if 8 years of modern military really burned them out on modern military games, then they got to keep themselves entertained, and they can't just follow market trends all the time. And so there's 2 sides to the equation. I personally would have been fine with another modern military game, as I had said many times before, but I am still really excited for Battlefield 5. I think there's plenty of opportunity here, and seeing the World War II theater of war back in this brand new Frostbite engine is super exciting, as I did play my very first Battlefield game in Battlefield 1942 and have so many fond memories of those maps. So I'm really looking forward to reliving some of those experiences once again. But again, a lot of that is from a nostalgic perspective. Anyway, that wraps it up for this Mailbox episode. If this is something you guys would like to see me continue to do on this channel, let me know in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.